earlier in the day, Adani Group has put out a statement saying that there are no bribery charges against Gautam Adani as well as the other executives. This is based on what the Department of Justice had put out, the multiple charges that were basically leveled. Now, let me just quickly try and explain how exactly is the Adani Group really indicating at the technical aspects. Let's just quickly take you through the details of it. Number one, it's about the indictment versus charge. That's the key difference here, ladies and gentlemen. The indictment may not result in court charges, and that's what is happening in this case. The charge would be a formal prosecution will take place. Let's take you through the other differences that is largely being looked at by the group. It says it does not mean a person is guilty. Now, that's again the several counts that we're talking about, multiple counts on which they're basically leveling the charges, will result to court proceedings. That's the other difference. Let's take you through the other. These are the two major differences that is being raised. Filed by a grand jury, and that is filed by a prosecutor. There too, there is a major difference between the indictment and charge. It's a technical aspect that the group is looking at. But what is very interesting to point out here is that the DOJ's indictment, which basically comprises about five counts, excludes Gautam Adani, Sagar Adani and Vneet Jaain. In fact, if you see what the top luminaries have to say, starting with Mukul Rohatgi, he says charge sheet lacks details on the bribery allegation. Now, why exactly is he saying that? That's because, remember, the bribery charges in count one actually implicates individuals that have been associated with Azure Power. Now again, remember, the charge is not directly against Gautam Adani. Let's also take you through the others who have now stepped in. Apart from Mukul Rohatgi, remember, it is also Mahesh Jethmalani who's made this point that this is at a preliminary stage. And it is almost like what happens in India, where there is a charge sheet that is filed and formal charges are yet to be leveled in. Now, what is it that the Adani Group says? DOJ's indictment comprising 5 counts excludes Adani's name. Let's take you through the other. Names not there in count 5 related to the conspiracy to obstruct justice. The bribery charges in count 1 implicates individuals associated with Azure Power and CDPQ. Again, these are rivals. The bribery charges in count 1 implicated individuals that have been, once again, Azure Power and CDPQ. Let's take you through the others. Now, these are some of the details emerging. Is there an attempt to destabilize the Indian economy? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason being that if you look at the counts, the charges, it appears that the bribery charge is not directly leveled against Gautam Adani or, for that matter, even his associates. They are saying that many of these legal luminaries are saying that they are all part of perhaps a sinister plot to destabilize. This is immediately after that indictment, this is what has happened. Kenya Airport project was cancelled. Then you have had Total Energies, the French global power, withdrawing, saying that they are not going to carry out with the investment. They paused their businesses with Adani. But remember, one of the other big banking groups, Jefferies, continues to pump in the money as far as the Adani Group is concerned, sticking to with the Adani Group. In fact, earlier in the day, I spoke to also the former Additional Solicitor General, Atmaram Nandkarni, and this is what he had to say with regards to why he believes that this is at a preliminary stage and the charges do not really stand at this point in time. He tries to decode what the Department of Justice had to say. Joining us on This Is Exclusive is a legal luminary, senior advocate of Supreme Court, former Additional Solicitor General, Atmaram Nandkarni. Sir, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Let me straight away begin by asking you, what do you really make of the indictment in the United States of America and the response that has come in from the Adani Group, where they say that there are no bribery charges that have been leveled against Gautam Adani and the other executives?
See, the US Department of Justice has filed a complaint, which you can in our terms say that it's a kind of a charge sheet. Basically, they relate to three counts, namely the alleged securities fraud conspiracy, the alleged wire fraud conspiracy, and the alleged securities fraud. Out of these 5 charges, it is true that in count number 1 and count number 5, these 3 individuals, perhaps if they are directors, because I'm not aware of that situation, Mr. Gautam Adani, Mr. Sagar Adani, and Vneet Jaain, they have not been charged in these counts. At least count number 1, which relate to, about this FCPA, and count number 5, both of them have not been named. I've gone through the entire criminal complaint which is filed. I'm not just going by the news reports, because the news reports carry different things. And I have this more than 50 pages complaint which is right in front of me. Count number 1 and count number 5, they have not been charged.
Mr. Nandkarni,
so if the count number 1 and 5, they have not been charged. Right. Where's the question of allegation of corruption?
But some also argue, Mr. Nandkarni, that in terms of the evidence that was produced by the court in the United States of America, it is the prerogative of the court to make a mention of the evidence that they have gone through. Some say, where is the evidence? But some also argue that it's the prerogative of the court.
See, whenever a charge of bribery is brought about, you must say Mr. X paid to Mr. Y at this particular place, at this particular time, on this particular day. Please have a look at these charges also. That so-and-so, officers of the company, they bribed during this period. The whole year is mentioned, months are mentioned. This is not the way in which a charge can be brought about in a criminal matter.
Mr. Nandkarni, I spoke to a few other legal luminaries. They say that this is nothing astounding because this has happened with other major corporations, conglomerates in the United States of America, and this is at a preliminary stage. So one cannot perhaps come to any sort of conclusion based on the indictment that we're really looking at, because this is not some sort of a conviction. Help us understand, simplify it for my viewers. What does this essentially mean? And if there is any sort of parallel that can be drawn here in India for the better understanding of the viewers.
See, this is like a state complaint. Whenever a complaint is lodged with the police, the state goes and files a complaint before the magistrate. And the magistrate thereafter issues a notice, summons, notice, warrant, depending on what kind of case it is. And it mentions that these are the charges against you. This is similar under these, that you can at the highest, equate it to a criminal complaint or a charge sheet which is filed before a court of law. In fact, the very US document which is there itself says that this is no conviction, this is no holding guilty, man is presumed to be innocent till he is proved guilty, etc. So the adjudication, trial, etc. will take place hereafter. But right now I am on a prior stage to that, because some newspapers and all reported that, Gautam Adani charged with bribery and all. I'm telling you, out of that 1 to 5 counts which are there, 1 and 5 he is not charged. Please have a look at it. You can yourself see the charge sheet. That complaint, and yourself find out that he is not charged.
Right. Mr. Nandkarni, also to take this forward, how do you really look at the timing of it? Because as I understand, the court in itself that has basically, passed the judgment here, the court in itself has been under the scanner. And the fact of the matter is that this comes at a time when you have an outgoing administration in the United States of America. Would it be appropriate to connect both of them?
See, the government is a continuous process. Here also we may have government of different parties, etc. Being from a person from the legal field, I would say government is a continuous process. So whatever the government does, I would not like to go into the political angle out of it. I would restrict myself only to the legal issues. The first legal issue that I want to highlight is, notwithstanding about the change of the governance, etc., charge number 1, which deals with conspiracy to violate FCPA, and charge number 5 regarding obstruction of justice, etc. If 1 and 5 they are not charged, where is the question of charging them under 2, 3 and 4?
Okay.
This is a basic issue.
So
for
you're saying
lawyer who understands ABC of criminal law, if 1 and 5 are not there, where is the question of 2, 3 and 4? I'm not holding a brief for Adani, I'm not holding for anything. Since you asked me a legal question,
yeah.
I'm giving you a legal answer that what about this?
So, can I safely then say that there is no preliminary evidence against Gautam Adani and his other executives as far as the bribery charges are concerned between the period of 2020 and 2024, because that's the charge that was leveled? The preliminary understanding is that there is no such evidence indicating that Gautam Adani and the other executives were indulging in any sort of bribery, even if you are to go by the documents of the United States of America, their court documents.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you two things. One, when I read these newspapers, etc., from different type, even some of these WhatsApp messages, they all said that, you know, charged for bribery, etc. When I went to the actual document, that is this 55 pages of this US document which I've got, I found that charge number 1 and 5, Gautam Adani has not been charged. Undoubtedly, his officials have been charged.
Right.
But again, there is no mention whom they have bribed, how they have bribed, what way they have bribed. See, bribery is a general allegation. Right. I don't think any criminal trial can, you know, commence based on such general and vague statements like this. You need a very firm thing. Even when you file the charge sheet, you got to plead the evidence. What evidence I have? Witness statements or any documents, etc.
Mr. Nandkarni,
so I'm on the basic issue. I'm on the basic issue that if 1 and 5 are not, you are not indicted for 1 and 5, then of course, where's the question of 2, 3 and 4?
I want to end this interview by asking you this question. What next? If I understand from the documents that we have also been able to peruse, there is no evidence against Gautam Adani, and it appears that's more to do with the Western media's reporting, which has largely indicated that Gautam Adani and his group has been indicted, but that is not the case.
No, the evidence, if any, only the US Department will have. The evidence, if any, the US Department will have. But before leading any evidence on the charge of bribery, you should have brought a charge for bribery.
Right.
We charge for bribery, and 1 and 5, their names are missing.
Do you find
their officials are there, their persons are there. I don't know who they are, but I presume they must be their officials.
Do you find this a little surprising?
I find this a little out of the way, because this is a bit out of the ordinary, because I'll tell you why. If there's a charge of bribery, it's a very serious charge, whether in India or abroad, and more so abroad. And if it's a serious charge, you don't charge a person for count 1 and 5, and you indict them for 2, 3 and 4. This is something which is inexplicable. I mean, for a lawyer, it will be very difficult to understand. You can ask this to any judges who have retired, etc. You can ask them, or any other lawyer, you can ask them, put up this point, 1 and 5, if you're not charged, can there be a charge for 2, 3 and 4?
Right. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on This Is Exclusive and putting this into perspective.
Thank you.